This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Ryan Mee, the CEO of Fulcrum Metals, following news that an initial exploration program has commenced at the Carib East claim block, and also geophysical survey news over Big Bear just announced afterwards. So thank you very much for joining us today, Ryan. First off, how are you doing?
Yeah, good morning, Mark. I'm doing very well. As always, it's a pleasure to be on Stockbox, and it's good to be back with some good news.
Good. Well, let's talk about the Carib East news first. What are the specific objectives, can I ask you, or the goals of the initial exploration program in the Carib East claim block in Winston Lake?
Yeah, so in the Carib Creek East area, there's historical occurrences of up to 1.35% copper in carbonate veins. And there's also a fairly wide-spaced historical soil sampling program, which depicted roughly a 2 square kilometre area with some really high and encouraging in copper in soil anomalies of up to 1100 ppm. So the objective of this program is to go back and see if we can extend those historic occurrences. And actually, make inroads back into that area. It hasn't been looked at for a good while, and also to go over and close down the spaces in the old soil sampling program, which will give us a bit more insight into where we can further focus our efforts on the property.
Okay. Well, I noticed that I think you quoted in the RNS saying that the Carib Creek East claim block is set within a highly prospective region and in close proximity to the historic Winston Lake base precious metal deposit, which has reportedly the highest grade zinc in North America. So, what's the potential for a discovery or expansion of mineralization at Carib East, and how soon could you know?
Well, this is our first phase of exploration in this area. What we do know is that, as you say, Winston Lake, the historic Winston Lake mine is reportedly one of the highest grade, zinc deposits in North America. And what we've got is this contact zone, which runs from, Winston Lake right across east, which goes right across our property. And what we know on our property is, we've got notes of chalcopyrite in historic exploration reports. We know there's copper in rock samples. We know there's this really interesting, fairly sizable copper in soil anomaly on our property. So it's got all of the ingredients there to make a discovery. So we're excited to get out there and make our first footsteps on that property, and results for that should be over the next few months.
Okay, so you're starting immediately?
Yes, it's underway currently.
Okay.
I receive daily reports. So, once that's completed, obviously the results need to go to the lab, and then we have to analyze them. So that obviously takes a bit of time. So,
okay. Excellent. Well, that's good to hear. Good to hear that there's some on-the-ground exploration going on, Ryan. But let's talk then about the other news that came out this week as well. That's, of course, at Big Bear, where we talked last time. You were planning on doing a geophysical survey of the whole area, I think, to really map out some other targets. And as I understand, you have now got about 72 geophysical targets, a priority geophysical target, so that's an increase of 85%. So that's quite significant, isn't it? Maybe too much to handle?
No, well, first and foremost, we're delighted with the results of the survey. What it has done is it's given us better clarity and definition on the geophysical target area that we're currently working in, around between Cook Lake and Pyramid Schreiber. So that's really allowed us to nail down on the shear zones. The next stage for that area is incorporating rocks and soil samples from our recent groundworks campaign, which we're still waiting to come back. And then we'll plug those all together, and that's going to really help us move on our way to drill target stage in that area. But what's really important is that we've got 4 areas essentially that this survey have highlighted when we combine the historic and this new data. So we've got some substantial EM units for us to go and follow up on. And that's important because what it demonstrates is this area is highly prospective and it's not too much to handle. What it demonstrates is the scalability on the property. And that's key if you want to create shareholder value.
Okay. So you mentioned about following up on some of these targets. How do you prioritize which ones to follow up on, and what would be the initial steps? Would it be going on the ground and getting soil samples as an initial starting point?
Yeah, absolutely. You always need to ground truth these prospective areas. So that's something we will do. But as we've communicated to the market, we're highly trained and focused on getting out of drilling in this tribal area as a priority.
Okay.
Once we have firmed up that schedule to do that, we'll get out to the other target areas and ground truth them, rank them in priority, and hopefully bring further good news to shareholders.
Okay, so you said you want to get drilling. So you'll be wanting to get drilling fairly soon, will you?
We've got we're taking a very logical and pragmatic approach to this.
Yeah.
This area hasn't been drilled for gold in the past. It's always been small scale mining. We know that it's high grade gold on surface. We know that there's been historical small scale mining. So we just got to take our time just a little bit to make sure that we really nail down on the best targets.
Okay.
So we'll be looking, end of Q3, end of Q4 is the end of Q3, start of Q4 is our target for drilling on Big Bear. But in the meantime, there's going to be lots of news from our exploration, our groundworks, and our target generation and drill contractors, etc. So there's a lot to look forward to.
Okay, fantastic. So currently, just to get a summary of everything that's going on, there is soil sampling currently going on or due to start very soon at Carib East there. And you're looking to do similar work at Big Bear, but also getting other things prepared, ready to get drilling when you have really narrowed down on the targets you want to go after.
Yeah, so we've completed the groundworks phase for Big Bear. So essentially, we're just collating all that information.
Okay.
To finalise the drill program for Big Bear.
Right.
We've been out to Jackfish, completed groundworks there. Again, we're waiting for the results from the lab before we can plug that into our model and then come back to shareholders and tell them what we think. We are currently out at Carib East, ground truthing some really prospective areas. What we're doing is really a portfolio-wide, really well-structured program rolling out. So there's going to be further news on us going out to other properties in the immediate short and medium term. So there's going to be a lot of news flow throughout the remainder of this year.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that update. Ryan Mee, the CEO of Fulcrum Metals.
Thanks, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.